dolphin's smile is evolution's greatest marketing trick, convincing humanity that underwater angels actually exist. We see friendliness in that upturned jaw, but in reality, it's just an anatomical feature designed to grip prey as efficiently as possible. For decades, marine parks have sold us a fairy tale about gentle rescuers nudging drowning swimmers to shore. But look into the archives of marine biologists, and you'll find that dolphins regularly engage in behavior that human society would classify as outright criminal. These cute creatures are capable of coordinated attacks, sadistic games with their prey, and even killing for sport, taking a life not for food, but for pure entertainment. Why did nature equip them with such a formidable intellect? The answer lies in the brutal fight for survival in a three-dimensional environment. Brain is a high-tech biocomputer, perfectly tuned for pattern recognition, echolocation, and social manipulation. Imagine living in a world where a single mistake costs you your life, and your food is constantly trying to swim away. You have to learn to deceive, to cooperate, and to calculate the moves of your peers several steps ahead. For them, high intelligence didn't evolve as a tool for altruism. It evolved as the ultimate weapon in the war for resources and dominance. Evolution never wrote a moral code for dolphins. They don't have concepts of good and evil, only the efficiency of their strategy. And it's exactly this cold rationality that makes them so dangerous to anyone who expects to find a kindred spirit. Dolphins are social predators smart enough to get bored, and a bored predator with a massive brain is a threat to everything in its line of sight. The darkness. They build complex hierarchies where violence is the primary tool for holding on to power. There is no malicious intent here. It's just pure biological pragmatism pushed to the absolute extreme. We project our own feelings onto them, assigning them a human empathy they do not and cannot possess. In their world, there is no room for pity. There are only calculated reactions to stimuli. When a dolphin interacts with a human, it's not being friendly. It is evaluating an object, testing its capabilities, and probing the limits of what it can get away with. To them, we are just an unusual piece of the environment, something to be used, ignored, or attacked if the situation demands it. The charm of their smile is just a mirror, reflecting our own illusions, and those illusions can easily turn against us. That leaves just one question. What happens when this intellect fully realizes how easy it is to manipulate creatures who sincerely believe it is their friend? Your brain isn't just a control panel for your body. It is the most sophisticated tool for scheming that evolution has ever created. Picture a master manipulator living right inside your skull, whose main goal isn't just to survive, but to outplay its neighbor in a zero-sum social game. Neurophysiology works like a Swiss watch. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning, teams up with your amygdala, the engine of your emotions. This duo is capable of magnificent feats, like building space stations, but most of the time, it's busy plotting the perfect betrayal. Here is the catch. High intelligence requires a complex social structure. To survive in a group, you need to know who the leader is, who the outcast is, and who is conspiring behind your back. We evolved to be expert mind readers, but this skill has a dark side. By learning to empathize, we simultaneously learn how to predict exactly what will cause another person the maximum amount of pain. That is the price of progress. The capacity for genuine friendship comes packaged with the ability to orchestrate complex plots to destroy your rivals. In this context, sadism isn't a pathology. It's a side effect of deep analysis. A brain capable of simulating the future 10 steps ahead will inevitably start using that gift as a weapon in conflicts, both outside and inside its own species. We don't just fight over a piece of meat like our primitive ancestors. We deploy grand strategies, turning chaos into a highly organized system of violence. Scientists call this cognitive empathy. You can perfectly sense your opponent's weaknesses, but instead of helping, you strike them with surgical precision. Look at your own neural network. It burns a massive amount of energy just tracking social status. Every like on social media or sideways glance from a coworker triggers ancient survival mechanisms. When social hierarchies become too complex, the brain starts treating rivalry like a matter of life and death. And at that moment, cold-blooded planning turns an ordinary person into an architect of suffering. We build civilizations to protect ourselves from uncertainty, Yet that very protection arms us with the tools to create organized chaos. We've become too smart to just live in peace, and too emotional to give up the fight for dominance. Will our ability to foresee consequences be the very last thing we realize before this entire construct of logic and cruelty spirals completely out of control? Forget the Hollywood movies where bottlenose dolphins save sailors from the jaws of sharks. In reality, these ocean angels behave a lot more like street gangs. For them, violence isn't a survival mechanism, it's a form of recreation. Scientists have documented a chilling phenomenon. Dolphins systematically attack porpoises with zero intention of eating them. They corner their victim, toss it into the air like a toy, and deliver massive blows until the poor creature's internal organs are turned to mush. This isn't hunting, it's a blood sport, where the opponent isn't even considered dinner. Even more shocking is how males treat their own offspring. In wild pods, cases of infanticide are regularly recorded. Adult males intentionally maiming or killing calves. Biologists believe they do this to force the females back into a state of readiness to mate, guaranteeing their own genes get passed to the next generation. It is cynical biological optimization, completely stripped of any sentimentality. A mother trying to protect her calf risks severe injury and often finds herself powerless against the coordinated aggression of the pod. This level of cruelty shatters our ideas about empathy in highly developed mammals. We like to think that high intelligence naturally plants the seeds of morality, but dolphins prove the exact opposite. Their intellectual resources are entirely focused on securing dominance and controlling territory by any means necessary. If asserting superiority requires destroying the weak, they will do it without a moment's hesitation. Picture this. You're watching a pod that looks like the pure embodiment of harmony, but in the next second, they transform into a well-oiled machine designed to obliterate a random bystander. This isn't a system glitch, it's the default setting of their complex social operating system. They are perfectly capable of inflicting intentional pain just for fun or to assert their status. Which brings up a serious question. Are we ready to admit that beneath this mask of eternal optimism hides one of the most ruthless predators in the ocean? If their intellect allows them to orchestrate such sophisticated attacks, where exactly does their ethics fit in? Maybe we just prefer to ignore the truth because it shatters our cozy myth of the underwater savior. But nature doesn't care about our illusions. Every new discovery just confirms a grim reality. Behind that smile is the cold calculation of a creature for whom we are nothing but another object of curiosity, one whose life means nothing if it gets in the way of their interests. It is time to stop looking for friends in the ocean and look reality in the eye, before that reality decides to test us instead. When we stare into the face of a dolphin, we aren't just looking at an animal. We are looking at a distorted reflection of our own shadow. It's a terrifying mirror to look into because there are no demons or villainous plots there, only raw biology with the brakes ripped off. Imagine a society where every member is a brilliant strategist, but no one has a conscience. There are no police, and there isn't even a basic concept of individual rights. That is the reality of dolphins. Intellect existing in an ethical vacuum. We've conditioned ourselves to believe that higher intelligence inevitably breeds morality, but nature just laughs at our human arrogance. Intelligence is just a tool to achieve a goal, and the goal is dictated by instincts honed through millions of years of struggle. When we watch their behavior, we aren't seeing an anomaly. We are seeing the very blueprint of success in a lawless world. Dolphins are, essentially, humans without supervisors, social norms, or the fear of going to trial. They don't have an IRS to audit their surplus resources, and they don't have social media to complain about injustice. There is only the pod and personal interest. If a dolphin wants to take what belongs to someone else, it won't look for legal loopholes or file a complaint. It will just take it. This is the triumph of absolute freedom in its wildest, most primal form. Their cruelty horrifies us because, deep down, we know the truth. Strip away humanity's social chains, and we would see the exact same thing in the mirror. We comfort ourselves with the thought that our intellect made us better. But look at history. Every single time societal barriers weaken, humanity devolves back into a pack where might makes right. The only difference is that we've learned to disguise our appetites behind noble excuses. Dolphins, on the other hand, are ruthlessly honest in their pragmatism. They don't construct theories of justice. They just survive, deploying the full arsenal of their neural processor. What happens if we fully admit that dolphins aren't an evolutionary glitch, but evolution's greatest triumph? Maybe it's this exact realization that makes us so desperately project smiles and kindness onto them. We need to believe that intelligence and virtue are inseparable. Otherwise, we have to face an uncomfortable truth. We are just dolphins who learned to wear suits and build prisons so we wouldn't devour each other in a fit of pure, unbridled biological ego. And the scariest part isn't that they can deceive us. It's that they have perfectly mastered the rules of a game we are still too afraid to play out in the open. We look at them like a mystery, but in reality, we are staring into our own perfect, terrifyingly honest future. A future where intelligence has finally freed itself from the obligation to be kind.